Well, first of all, thank you all so very much for taking your time and joining us today to learn about this wonderful organization, Bevell's Advocate. One of the things that we want you to understand is our full mission. The mission is very powerful because it is designed to empower, to educate, and to assist. We all know that advocacy is the one thing that we all feel like we have on our own, but it is so much powerful when it becomes embraced by a group of people that are on the same mission. Our goal is to create that advocacy as well as to educate parents. There is nothing like an educated parent to know what their rights are and what their kiddos' rights are. And also collaboration. We are not here to stand against schools or institutions of learning, but just to hold them accountable and to work hand in hand with them in making it the best learning environment for our children. I'd like to take this time to introduce you to our team. Morgan, if you don't know her, for many of you, you do. She is the president and she is the founder of Bevell's Advocate. We also have Arissa Paulson. She is our secretary. Frank Masani is our vice president, and Amelia O'Brien is the treasurer. And I have the honor of being the development specialist and a collaborator on this team. There's also Ashley Walker. She's our marketing coordinator, and Emily Luz is the grant writing advisor. And we all know that community input from our interns who work as our outreach interns is Isabella Ung, as well as Reese Navarez. I apologize, Reese. But there is nothing like what we're doing this for, and that's for an increase of knowledge. So our volunteers that are on board today, we thank you for everything that you give, and we are hoping to rally others to the truth. You may say, well, why are you doing a Friendraiser? This is just the way to get you to come in, and then we're going to alley-oop you with, now please give us money. No, really, truly, this is about creating knowledge. And the best thing that we could think of is your presence. Without your presence, we would not be able to gift this community what it needs. And so hopefully you are bitten by the bug and you want to get involved. However, if not, we ask that you share our mission with a friend if it can help them out with anything that you learned today. And if you are in a position to lend your hand, please do. But the best you can do for us is to take what you learned today and share it with a friend, because that is what friend raising is all about. I'd like for you to meet our founder. She is here to tell you a little bit about how this wonderful organization got started. So I'm going to hand it off right now to Morgan. Morgan, go ahead.
Thanks, Kimber. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Again, we're super grateful that you're spending an hour out of your afternoon with us. And for many of you who know me, know that this cause is near and dear to my heart. But my passion for advocacy started long before Bevell's Advocate was even a thing, before it even came into existence. So when I was younger, when I was growing up, my younger sister struggled with learning disabilities. She's here in the middle. And our family, it took a toll on our family. My parents especially felt lost, unsure how to help her succeed in school. I think we've all had that moment or can relate in some way, crying over your math homework in the kitchen at midnight and your mom or dad screaming at you, if Jimmy has 5 apples and you take away 2, how many apples do you have left? And I know it's a pinnacle moment and just something that people connect with even on the internet, but for some kids, that's not how you get through to them, believe it or not. And I was just in middle school watching my sister struggle and my parents struggling to figure out how to best handle it. And although I couldn't be her professional advocate in any sense, I decided the best way I could help at that time was to use my strength in school and help tutor her. So I took to it and helped her with her homework, and I helped her figure out how many apples Jimmy had left, and sometimes help shield her from mom and dad in those moments. But I think that through this experience and really watching the way my parents advocated for my sister, the way that they fought tooth and nail so that she could have the extra time on tests, so that she could have a distraction-free environment while taking these little things to some of us make all the difference to others. And watching my parents go through that process was super inspiring. And I think it definitely taught me how to fight for someone that you love, and that you, it taught me patience and empathy and the importance of showing grace even when the process seems overwhelming. And the story does have a happy ending. My sister graduated high school. I was about to walk across the stage with her, to be honest. I was so proud. And she now is a cosmetologist and super successful. And those little things that my parents fought for really did make all the difference. And I think this background definitely set me up for my relationship with my friend here, Grace. So Grace is my old neighbor and now best friend. She has Down syndrome. And she has certainly shaped my heart more than she will ever know. I've known her whole life. She's 10, and she's been one of the greatest gifts. And she struggled with a lot of the same things my sister did, with just kind of in the classroom and figuring things out. And I saw her parents fighting for the same things to get her the help that she needs to keep up. And again, at this time, I reverted back to the best way I knew how, and I began tutoring Grace in a professional sense. And we worked every single day, and we saw a lot of success, giving her that one-on-one attention. And we learned the best way that she learns in her brain. And she's now at grade level and super successful, killing fourth grade. And it has just been so rewarding and heartwarming watching her grow and into this beautiful embodiment of dignity and sassiness. And I know that these experiences with both my sister and Grace are definitely what planted the seeds for Bevell's Advocate, because they showed me how much families need support and understanding, and someone that's willing to walk with them through these times, and even just sit with them and cry sometimes. They want someone just to feel, so that they feel seen and heard. And I think that's one of the most important things that I hope Bevell's Advocate can be for a lot of these families, is just that sense of relief that they do not have to navigate this world alone.
Thank you so very much. One of the things that we all know in regards to making sure that you stand up and advocate for what you really want and what you really need in life, we know that sometimes it needs a voice of people it's impacted. It started first with Morgan's sister and with Grace, but this movement is moving far beyond that, because the power of taking the heart and the know-how of what Morgan has put together and channeling it into the most powerful group that you can get, which are moms and individuals that have a need to fight for those who are sometimes the least heard, which are our kids. That's what this is all about in this hour. If you'll go forward to the next slide for me, Morgan, we'd like to share a video of a little bit more about the journey to the development of Bevell's Advocate.
Is your kiddo here?
Yes, well, all three of my kiddos, but he's right there with the Spider-Man.
Oh, I love it.
Being able to help these families and give them a voice has filled me further than BYU softball or those personal accolades has ever been able to do. I've never felt stronger confirmation that I'm in the right place at the right time.
This is like totally different. This is like longer lasting, deeper feelings, those kind of things. Holy cow, making me emotional.
I love Morgan because she's my best friend and nice.
Honestly, I've been very immersed in the community as long as I can remember. I was a peer tutor in high school, nannied a girl with Down syndrome. But I would say one of the biggest impacts I've had is in the most recent years working with my neighbor, Grace.
I'm Grace Isabel Crawford.
And how old are you?
I'm 8.
How does she help you work better?
Do writing and reading.
I really can't even start to describe how much she's done for Grace and as a result for our family. Long before she ever worked with Grace in academics, she was her friend. They play together all the time. And when Grace says, "Mom, can I play with a friend?" and I say, "Who?" "Bevels." She just loves Morgan.
Honestly, I kind of jumped the gun a bit and I started Bevell's Advocate technically before I even graduated. I just couldn't wait to get started.
Morgan knew right away what she wanted to do, but she had this such wide-ranging view of, hey, this is how I want to do it. This is what I want it to look like. And she just from day one, she went for it.
We had no resources. We didn't know any of the things that were available out there, nor did we have time to even figure them out. And so that's where she got the idea for her nonprofit, to connect these resources that are there with families that are really overwhelmed.
I first have a conversation with that family on what kind of help they're searching for. So we provide educational, social, financial, and medical supports. And so for each family, that will look very different.
When you have a kiddo that has disability and is nonverbal, and things are happening but you don't think that are quite right, and you don't know the answers or the laws, it's been very helpful to have Bevell's Advocate.
Mom will call in and say, I really need help. She'll sit in there with them and help to come up with a plan.
It is just an uphill battle, unfortunately, a lot of the times. And so I just want to be able to help those families in that fight. And I want them to know that I'm here.
She will probably exceed their expectations. If she doesn't know the answer, she will research and find, and she'll get the answer and get them to where they need to be.
And the benefit of having Morgan be involved is just to help get on that path and make as much progress on that path as possible. It has been about, how does this kind of set Grace up for success?
I'm a single mom, and so I don't have a partner to kind of go back and forth with things, and just feeling heard was the most helpful.
Being close to this community and interacting with them, you feel Heavenly Father's love.
When Grace wants to play with Morgan and I say, let's give Morgan a little break, and Morgan says, what are you talking about? I don't want a break from her. I want all of her I can get. And to have someone love you like that, to have Grace feel like she has someone who loves her all the time, even if she's in trouble at home, even if she's had a rough day, Morgan is just such a support to her.
Morgan teach me is help people sad.
I feel that I am doing the Lord's work and spreading that love that He has for all of His children. We're small, but we're mighty. And I think one step at a time, we'll be able to reach my vision. And if we're all more compassionate and loving, we'll be able to slowly even change the world.
I couldn't have said it better myself. We all can see Morgan's heart, but what is so wonderful is that her heart has impacted so many people. And as a result, this organization, with that heart implanted in the millions of people that we want to implant it in, will just make it grow even further. And no one can feel that impact like the people that she's impacted. And so we've invited Hannah to help us understand that impact even more. So Hannah, welcome.
Hi, thank you.
Awesome. Hannah, one of the things that we ask you to do is just tell us the impact and your journey of where you started and where it's ended since you've had Bevell's Advocate in your corner. Do you mind sharing that with us today?
Yeah, of course. It's been quite the journey. So I'm a 32-year-old mom. I have 3 kids. I have a 13-year-old son, a 12-year-old daughter, and then my 6-year-old Cooper. You know, and it's pretty recent for us, within the last, really the last year and a half, since we even realized things were going on and got him a diagnosis and things like that. The beginning was very hard. I started noticing things around the age of 3 for him. He's always been verbal and everything. But just with his behaviors and things like that at home, they started to feel extremely excessive. And it got to the point where it was overwhelming me on a daily basis. You know, I do run an in-home daycare. I've been around kids, you know, all ages and stuff for a very long time. I feel like I have a lot of patience. And I was starting to lose that patience. I'm not supposed to get emotional this early.
Okay.
And it felt even harder for me. The fact that it was like my own child that I was having such a hard time keeping my patience with. You know, I felt like of all the kids, you know, I know him best. I know how to handle him and things like that. And just the fact that at that point in time, it was getting to where I was like, I don't know what to do. You know, I was so overwhelmed every single day. I felt like I was not able to be there for my older kids or my husband. Just, I couldn't be there as a mom and a wife in the way I wanted to be. You know, and I feel like, so in the beginning, there was a lot of, you know, it was just like him acting out and things like that, but it was just so excessive. And I was seeing it because he was there with me 24/7. I'm the one who didn't get a break, right? Dad's gone 12-hour shifts every day. So even with my husband, you know, there was a lot of you know, he needs more discipline, you know, he's just fine. But, you know, the ADHD and all of that runs on his side of the family. He has it. And I have heard, you know, that sometimes they can have a harder time seeing it or accepting it and stuff like that as well. But so for a long time, I felt very alone. You know, wondering, okay, maybe my husband's right. Maybe there's nothing wrong with him. And I just need to crack down, you know, do the disciplining, be more strict with him. And I didn't know what else to do. So I did do those things. You know, and really with Cooper, it just exploded those behaviors even more. It definitely did not ever help. So I spent a good year just researching online, different parenting styles, different things that I could try to do to help my child. And I wasn't finding anything that worked. You know, and it was just to that point where I'm crying every day, don't know what to do. So I reached out on Facebook actually to our community. And I just put this whole long list. These are things my kid does, you know, I feel like it's excessive, but I have other people in my life telling me that it's not. He's just kind of being a brat, you know. But then I had all these parents come through and be like, you know, we've noticed a lot of these same things. And our child, we got them evaluated and it's helped so much. So that's when we kind of started on that path. And we actually started trying to get him an IEP and everything in school before he actually got his diagnosis. And I was using another advocate at the time. That was still very helpful. I had no idea how to start what I was supposed to do. And so in kindergarten, he was in full day kindergarten and he struggled a lot. It was, 2.5 hours every single morning before school. That was just screaming, hitting me, things like that. And it was just so hard. I mean, there were times where he would miss school because I didn't have the energy that day to go through all of that to make him go to school. And so, we did end up getting him an IEP and everything. But even with this other advocate we were using, there were accommodations that I really felt like my son needed. And he wasn't getting, he was getting a lot of the very basic things like, he can use headphones or fidgets if he wants to, no time tests, things like that. But it was pretty, I don't know. I just knew that there was a lot more he was going to need in order to be able to thrive and succeed in school. And, so I would talk to this advocate and be like, okay, I think that, these different things could help. And they just kept telling me that he doesn't qualify. So I continued to do all my research. I would look up the school, the district, the state's laws and policies on, kids with disabilities and IEPs, and everything that I was reading, it was like, okay, according to all of this, like my son should be able to get these accommodations. Like, why are they telling me that he doesn't need it? So, I never wanted to feel like I was against the school either. We are all supposed to be on a team, but it was very hard for me to feel that way. I felt a lot like I was not being heard. My son is verbal, and I do feel like that maybe was part of, them, like they didn't see a lot of the behaviors at school in kindergarten. But like, he would mask highly and then all of those would come out at home. And so, even though he like did kind of hit these guidelines and should have had this accommodation, I would be like, okay, can you tell me why? Like exactly why he doesn't qualify? And they couldn't even give me answers, or the answers they did give me made no sense whatsoever. So it was really frustrating. And it really got to the point where, I was almost like, okay, I don't want him to go through this every day. I don't want to go through this every day. I'm going to have to like pull him out and homeschool him. But at the same time, I really knew that that was not a feasible option for myself, my family, or my child. Like I knew that he needed to be able to go kind of have that routine outside of the home. Honestly, I needed that break. That was important for me. But I felt like at the time I was kind of stuck behind, between a rock and a hard place where it's like, I have to choose one of the less crappier options, have him struggle in school or attempt to homeschool him and hope that I don't go crazy. And, I'm like, how am I supposed to teach him? So I was really like ready to give up. And then I had seen Bevell's advocate mentioned multiple times. I had no idea what to expect, but I did, schedule the like free phone consultation. And I almost didn't even go on to the phone consultation because I just felt like I was still in the place where I felt like I was going to be ashamed, like telling them like, what I'm experiencing, how, I feel like a lot of this almost might be my fault, but that call was life-changing for me. After that phone call, like I felt so much relief immediately. I felt validated, and like reassured that like my son does deserve these things, and he should be accommodated. And so, that's when we did decide to start working with Bevell's advocate, and it's changed our lives in so many ways. And my son is, he's made leaps and bounds at school. He still has a long way to go, but he's gotten, so like the main one, I guess, was they didn't want to give him a bus. We live, within like a mile of the school. And he would be walking with his older sister who was in 5th grade at the time. He would get overwhelmed, overstimulated if he had anxiety. He would just lay down in the middle of the road and he would refuse to get up. And, my daughter was 11 at the time. She couldn't like drag him or anything like that, but like they kind of were trying to make it seem like it was our responsibility. So, it did end up like affecting my work life as well, because I really had to try to make the time to be able to, leave and drive my son because he would not walk. That was just something that was so hard for him. So I ended up driving him, and then I would he wouldn't get out of the car. He refused to get out of the car. He would be crying and screaming, and so it turned into this whole routine of, we have to go walk into the school, walk around for 20 minutes until the bell rings. And that's the only way I could get him to like go to school. Bevell's advocate, we had to do more than one IEP meeting before we got the bus transportation. So they still kind of had a little kickback there. But, it was nice because with those things, like I didn't have to be the one to spend my entire, I felt like my life was consumed with just doing all this research and trying to figure out what I could do. And Bevell's advocate really took over that for me. And, they were able to do all the emails, if they don't have an answer, they figure it out. I don't have all of that pressure on me, so I can focus on other things at home. And that was super beneficial. So we were able to get him that bus transportation because, this year in first grade, he does not have his sister there. So I was terrified if, he was going to have to go into this year, and he just has to walk. I feared that there would be like, he would just go missing, like I'm not going to go to school. And we live right by railroad tracks. We live by a road that people just do not pay attention. And he does not pay attention to his surroundings. So that was a really important thing for us to get for school. So, but I mean, like, they still have helped with a lot more accommodations. And, I definitely think that we will be with them long term because our kids' needs are always like changing as they grow and learn. And, they may need new accommodations and they might have some that they don't need anymore. But it's just really nice to have that person, be on your team and fighting for your family and your child, just as hard as you would.
Hannah, that is absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing with us. I don't think that anyone on this call has remotely the understanding of what you've gone through, but I think what we all can connect to is that there is a resolution and you're not alone. And that means everything. So I would like to thank you so much for sharing your experience with Bevell's advocate. Thank you. Thank you so very much. One of the things that we all know is that there's commonality sometimes in a story where we can pick out and find ourselves, and it's not indigenous to just one. And so when we talk about advocacy, Casey has her own story about how Bevell's advocate has stepped up and been there for her and her son. Casey, are you there?
Hi, yes, I am.
Hi there. Well, I'm going to yield the floor to you and let you just speak from the heart about what this organization has meant to you and your family.
Hi, so my name's Casey. I have 2 kids. I have a daughter who's 15 named Aaliyah, and then I have my son Levi who just turned 8. My story is very similar to Hannah's in a lot of different ways, actually. But my son was diagnosed with autism last year about this time. So it's been about a year since his diagnosis. He also has ADHD, sensory processing disorder, a couple other things that affect him daily. And in our instance with school, he was in kindergarten just a half day, and he did pretty well in kindergarten. He struggled a lot with some separation anxiety, and that's been a struggle all of his life. And so we've kind of managed that and been able to handle that. There were days that he was just not able to separate from me, though. And that kind of led me into, so this was before his diagnosis of autism. And that kind of led me into trying to get him an evaluation for an IEP at the end of kindergarten. Just like I said, we did okay, did better than I thought that we would in kindergarten. My older daughter also actually has ADHD, and so we didn't deal with quite as many struggles as I thought we would in kindergarten. And anyways, I was able to try to get him evaluated for an IEP. He didn't qualify at the time. They weren't seeing enough issues at school. They weren't seeing any red flags that led him to qualify. Well, fast forward to first grade, and the length of time increased, the demands increased, everything increased, and it was just too much for Levi to handle. We were dealing with daily meltdowns at school and at home, but specifically at school. And again, this is the beginning of first grade, so this was before his diagnosis. At the time, he was only diagnosed with ADHD and the sensory processing disorder. And the issue that I was facing was that the school, unfortunately, and administration at the school was looking at all of his meltdowns just from a behavior standpoint, not from a disability standpoint. And we were dealing with huge meltdowns, huge behaviors. My first grader was being suspended multiple times. I was just at a loss, honestly. I was beside myself. I mean, I couldn't imagine thinking, oh my gosh, my first grader is being suspended. Like, how are we here? How is this happening? And like Hannah mentioned, I spent so much time just trying to research the laws and research what rights he had and rights we had as parents, and trying to bring different accommodations to the table, trying to really fight for a reevaluation for IEP services since he hadn't qualified before, and was just hitting roadblocks, really. I was spending, I'm a stay-at-home mom, so I do have that luxury, but I was getting phone calls from the school multiple times per week to either come pick him up due to his behaviors or to actually come sit with him in class or in the office. And obviously that's not sustainable. Even as a stay-at-home mom, that's not sustainable. But of course, for anyone that's trying to work and carry on with a job. So like Hannah said, it was affecting our home life so much. I mean, his older sister was so worried about him all the time. She would honestly text me from school asking how Levi was and if Levi was able to stay at school that day. And it was just a weight that she didn't need to carry. But I just was drowning. I was so overwhelmed, and just I knew that there had to be an easier way. Like I had done the research, I had presented these laws, and I just was getting a lot of pushback. And so much like Hannah said, also I after Levi got diagnosed with autism, I was I joined several groups on Facebook, different disability right groups, and I kept seeing Bevell's Advocate come up just as a recommendation through those groups. And so it got to the point where I had honestly told my husband, I'm like, this isn't working. And again, like Hannah said, I was ready to just throw in the towel. I was ready to just pull him out and homeschool him. And I can't tell you the amount of days that I just wanted to be done. And I just wanted to give up and pull him out and homeschool him. But I knew deep down that that wasn't going to solve our problems. That wasn't going to solve the problems long term. In my case, I felt like if I did homeschool him, I would never get him to step foot into a school again. He had so much anxiety surrounding school. And I just knew there has to be supports out there that can get him what he needs to be successful. And so I decided to reach out to Bevell's Advocate and do the consultation as well. And it has just been our lifeline. Like I said, I was drowning and it has been life-changing. Morgan and Bevell's Advocate has helped us so much. We have sat through so many IEP meetings, so many behavioral plan meetings. We have actually done a change in placement in schools, and she helped me through the entire process. She was able to help us just navigate the resources that were out there that we didn't know were out there, and accommodations that he deserved and had the right to that we didn't know were available. And so he's doing so much better. He's in such a better place now. I just reached out to Morgan actually last week. He was nominated as Student of the Week in the whole school. And so in 1 year, we have gone from truly being suspended, getting calls for behavior every week, to Student of the Week. And it's just something that I could have never imagined a year ago. I could have never imagined we'd be in this place. And it just was such a full circle moment. I had to text Morgan and just say, this is what you've done for my family. It's been amazing.
Awesome. Way to go. Honestly, I don't know. I thought I joined to be a help to Bevell's Advocate because I have a sister personally who my nephew has special needs, and I've watched her fight here in Florida so hard. But it's not until I really started to talk to Morgan and really get into what Bevell's Advocate does. And I realized all the way along, being transparent, I started out and I was in SLD, slow learning disability. I was a kid who was dyslexic, and I need time to put things in order. And one of the things that I realized is I didn't have an EIP, but I did have a Miss Burnap who advocated for me as my teacher, who slowed things down and took me aside to help me out. And I'm sure every teacher would love to have that time with, and they sometimes don't unless they are well aware of the challenges. And so it wasn't until she came into my life and showed me how to structure myself. Kids are so resilient. They find a way once it's shown. And so one of the things that I like to say is we know that Bevell's Advocate has been impactful because we started in 2023 with 35 families being served and 25 community partners. And in 2024, we more than tripled that, with 90 families being served and 57 community partners. And just the big woohoo in 2025, there was a pilgrimage to Florida. Thank you for coming, Morgan. Thank you so very much, Bevell's Advocate. 2025, 180 families served, 162 community partners, and growing. Now, 2026 we'll be serving 500 families is our goal. And you may say, wow, that's huge. Well, not really, because Florida, little do you know, is fourth in the nation in regards to how many kids are on IEPs. So we rank within the top 5, and we sit 4 here in Florida. So we know the need here in Florida is so great. It's 5 times more than that in Utah. So we look to do great things here in Florida with the Bevell's Advocate. And you may say, well, why am I here? Well, this is it. This isn't where we ask you to pull out your checkbook. This isn't where we alley-oop you into thinking you are here for one thing and present another. No, it's just this this simple. Honestly, you now are armed with knowledge. You know there's a problem, but you're armed with a greater knowledge, and that is that there is a solution, and it's Bevell's Advocate. We want you to get involved. We have meetups that we will be doing throughout 2026 and beyond, where we'd like you to join our monthly viral meetup and our virtual meetup, and also just stay connected and learn about the current needs in your community, in the communities that we're growing into. Invite others to join and to learn more about IEPs and about the struggles of, it's not just the misbehaved kid in class. There's something maybe deeper at the root of that. And also, we are looking for a stand-up. We're looking for individuals to come out and support. Be at those tables, advocate in your local community. If you know there's a mom struggling, say, hey, I think I know somebody that might be able to help you. But also, come join us at these great events that are always a part of the special needs community. And for those who are looking for help, sit at a table, tell your story, or just be a part of the families that want to be a blessing to Bevell's Advocate. And lastly, we want to cultivate individuals to really learn to use the resources to help others. Sometimes I was really impressed with my sister who did not have a Bevell's Advocate. She was the advocate, and she is a tyrannical bear for her son. And the beauty of it is she is trained herself. But I told her about Bevell's Advocate, and she said, you know, I wish I had someone there. I said, what if you could be there for another mom? Your son graduated, he's moving on. But if you had the resources and the time to be a partner to another mom who's just pressing into this, being a guidance and a tool to support them, would you give your time? We want to train individuals to stand up and stand out so we can take the heart of Morgan, which has become the heart of Bevell's Advocate, to be in each and every one of us as we help each other through this. So we want to create a meaningful difference for children and their caregivers. Now, you may say, well, okay, I'm heated up. I really want to get involved. You can either go ahead and scan this code, and it'll lead you to signing up for one of these wonderful initiatives, or we're going to be emailing this link out, and we're going to ask you to please share. Even if you don't take the time yourself, invite someone to a meetup. Okay, that is what we want. And I'm going to turn it over to Morgan. It's been such a great time here within this last hour, just getting to tell about what this means to me and being a part of it, and also for the ones that are to come. We really do thank you for taking the time to be a present in this present time. Go ahead, Morgan. Anything you want to say?
Thanks, Kimber. Just really that we super appreciate you guys taking an hour out of your afternoon, and we definitely value your time, as Kimber was saying. And so we know everyone's busy. You've got a million things going on. And so it means a lot to us. It is the greatest gift to us that we have been able to share this 45 minutes with you. And if you know anyone that might benefit from our organization, our contact information is here. We're also on most social medias. And so you can follow along for different resources or event updates or tips and tricks, just to keep involved. We're really just trying to cultivate a engaging and active community. And finally, our top advocate for today's event was Miss Anna. And so she invited the most people to our event. And thank you to our wonderful sponsor, the World of Special Needs here in Orlando and Tampa. She will be given 8 passes to the Crayola experience in Orlando to share with anyone that she would like. So yes, thank you again for your time and for your participation and support. And we look forward to working with you more in the coming years.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, everyone, for your time and your energy. Thank you. Have a wonderful and blessed day.
Have a good day, everyone.